Anyone who has explored our content will be presented with overwhelming evidence of not only once advanced ancient civilizations having once flourished here on our planet, but many of them left equally as compelling evidence within their many quarries, seemingly indicative of groups who suddenly vanished, as if wiped out by cataclysm, leaving many said quarries in a state of preservation, left abandoned midway through the liberation of some undoubtedly astonishing stone monoliths. Additionally, ancient texts, religious teachings, and even mainstream historical evidence not only suggesting that many of today's viruses, some having become more successful than others, some remaining prevalent within modern times, are all ancestors of some incredibly dangerous strains of bacteria and disease, many seemingly destined to repeat history themselves. Plagues, curses, pandemics, whatever man has identified them as, they remain just as much of a risk today as they ever have, perhaps due to modern industrial industries, even more likely today. Thus, for one not to consider that a virulent enough strain of any of today's modern superbugs could not have played a role in the demise of these past great states would be foolish. Since modern records began, there have been a number of infectious diseases which have not only reached the status of a pandemic, the classification for a disease which successfully moves through borders, infecting many other of Earth's countries in its wake. But there have also been a number of outbreaks of these diseases through the eras, which have simply decimated the world's population. Before the time of modern hygiene awareness, for example, prior to the discovery of infectious diseases, or that of bacteria itself within modern science, many people believe that diseases such as dysentery, which we now know to be caused by polluted water and food sources, were not thought of to have been a result of polluted water supplies, but were instead believed to have been transmitted through the foul stenches which often grip many of the world's cities, which mostly had open-air sewers, raw sewage simply disposed of from windows above, eventually finding its way into the many open running sewage channels which winded down the streets and often into the rivers, which would, in turn, be used as sources of drinking water lower down. These conditions, along with the lack of understanding in regards to the control of such diseases, and indeed the prevention of the real transmitters, predictably made these societies, placed a mere few centuries ago, let alone thousands, sitting ducks in regard to a virulent strain of any highly successful, thus highly contagious, viral diseases. The Black Death, or what we know today as Ebola, for example, or indeed that of the Spanish flu, can be seen as efficient killers, far more efficient at wiping out a population than even that of World War. These viruses were simply devastating, and this is even before modern transport or aircrafts. Fortunately, however, regardless of the mass migration of people which can be witnessed every day, the battle against many of these diseases has largely been won, thanks to modern technology and the power of the media in today's environment. Awareness of these particular diseases and the measures which can be taken to prevent them is far more effective than it once was, so the occurrence of these outbreaks is not as catastrophic. However, they are no less infrequent, for if we look at history as a guide, it is not merely a question of if, but more a question of when these outbreaks occur in the future. Hygiene is any disease's biggest adversary, and we can only hope that one day we develop enough capacity as a species to be able to stop them in their tracks.